level, most people would agree with me that the real reason that we're out here tonight demonstrating is obviously we're trying to send a message to the government. What's the message? The message is that Israeli society feels, and rightfully so, they see that the security response to the current situation of Arab on Jewish violence, which has seen a serious uptick in the last few months, which is a continuation of the last 12 months of this so-called silent intifada, we think the response is soft. We think that any other normal country would have a much harsher response and would be able to restore calm and quiet in a much quicker and more effective manner. So we're here to show the government that we support harsher responses, and if they feel that they're not able to institute a harsher response because they don't have support from the Israeli citizenry, clearly they're wrong. The majority of people in Israel right now are in favor of ending the violence, which is actually a government's first and foremost responsibility.
And what would that entail?
What would that entail? I think at this point, what's clear what they're doing. There's been some good things that they've been doing, and there's been some bad things. For example, there's been some concrete blocks which have been placed today around light rail stations. This epitomizes a band-aid solution. It's not tackling what's the root problem. We know, especially with the driving attacks, which has been 3 in the last week, that this attack actually first happened in Canada, in Quebec, after ISIS called on their followers and supporters and sympathizers to carry out such attacks. Now we see it coming to Israel. It's being spread around social media. The root of the problem is not going to be solved by simply putting a band-aid in the form of a concrete block over potential target locations.
What is the root of the problem? What is the root of the problem?
The root of the problem is very simple, which is that the Arabs, and this is only for non-citizens of Judea and Samaria, but for Israeli citizens, residents of Jerusalem, residents of Haifa, Jaffa, all these places, they do not believe that we have any right to be here whatsoever. Also, not for all of them, but for a significant, very loud, small majority of them, they also view this as a religious war against us. There are certain parts of Islamic doctrine which do talk about the need, the commandment for fighting the non-believers, and especially the Jews. And for a lot of them, that is the main driving force. And for other ones, it is a little more nationalistic and less religious.
When I've heard some statements tonight about talking to individuals about removing Muslim places of worship from the Temple Mount, isn't that a Jewish provocation of a religious conflict?
I don't view it as a religious provocation whatsoever. I think that obviously there are numerous obstacles and structures that are in the way preventing at this exact moment in time any sort of change to the physical structure on the Temple Mount. However, I would say this, is that for the last 2,000 years of exile, Jewish people all around the world of all persuasions, including today's Reform and conservative, every time that they pray, the standardized daily prayer, which we've been praying for 2,000 years, they are begging and requesting of God to bring about the return of the temple. And they don't specify the ways through which He's going to do that. That's up for God to do. But the point is that every Jew, even the most secular Jew who might only go to his temple in Los Angeles once a year on Rosh Hashanah, he is ultimately praying and requesting and begging from the Holy One, blessed be He, that He should restore the temple on the Temple Mount speedily in our days.
What about my impression when I got here that there were more reporters than there were followers of this cause, which made me think, freshly arrived from New York, that this is a fringe cause?
So I also noticed that when I got here, that there were definitely more reporters than there were activists. You can see even as it is now, people are still slowly filtering in. The impression that I get from it is, first of all, is that yesterday alone there were 3 demonstrations about the security situation. There were 2 in the Shmuel Hanavi area, the Shimon HaTzadik area, after there was an attack earlier in the day, and then in the evening there was actually a car accident, which people rightfully believe that in the initial stages was also a terrorist attack. So people are worn out. The police have also been very, very active on a general basis, but especially in the last few weeks, of really creating a sense of fear among activists. And as well, we see with the shooting of Yehuda Glick, there are some people who are genuinely scared to be shown as activists who are willing to go out into the street. And this is actually one of the goals of terrorism. It's also one of the goals of the government's their whole program to bring down the temperature, if you could call it that. And one way of them doing that is one police tactic. There's a well-known police tactic, which I know personally from a professional and academic point of view, which is called picking for the low-hanging fruit. And what happens is if you have 10,000 rioting Arabs over there, and you have 100 Jews who are here just singing and dancing, it's much easier for them, as a police force, it's easier for them to remove the Jews and let the Arabs just go until they go to sleep. This is a police tactic which is used the world over. It's terrible for deterrence, but in terms of the short-term goal of slowing down a particular situation at a specific time, it does serve those goals. But ultimately, it totally kills the deterrence factor.
But lastly, as a guy sitting in New York, seeing the headlines, I think, wow, Jerusalem's about to explode. And then I come over here, and and my inclination is, you guys should not be provoking a religious conflict. Why are you?
So I'll say a couple of things on that. First of all,
and I understand the kind of police response, which is let's de-escalate rather than escalate.
Sure. First of all, you start off your statement.
And you guys are escalating it. That's according to that view.
According to that view.
Yes.
So look, I'll say this. You start off by saying that as essentially a layperson sitting in New York.
Yes.
How would you, based on the headlines? The first issue is that the headlines are totally full of bias, misinformation, and disinformation. For example, the terrorist who shot Rabbi Yehuda Glick in this exact spot a week ago, when he was gunned down by police so that he couldn't go and kill more people, which is the first thing that must be done, is to take out the terrorists. When that happened, the general headline from my own research of what happened in the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere was, Israeli, please shoot Palestinian man. And it took many days for that to be clarified, but as we know with a lot of things such as the Goldstone report, once that headline has got out there, the damage is already done. People recall headlines. The media has a very significant role to play in people's recollection of events and the way that people form their views of different situations, especially political situations. The second thing is that you specified you're looking at this as a layperson. American politics, where you come from America, relies on people by being laypersons. The average politician assumes the average voter is an idiot, and they treat them as such. And the media does that as well. And therefore, it's not that people are not entitled to their opinion. They absolutely are. But obviously, some layperson sitting in New York who's an artist, his opinion doesn't compare to mine, where I have a double master's in international security studies, policing and counterterrorism, and I've been working in the field for 9 years. Their opinion doesn't hold weight against someone like mine, like an opinion of my own. So I think that taking those two things as a precursor to the second part, which is that I don't believe there are any provocations here whatsoever. The only provocations are Arabs threatening to kill us, attacking us violently, and actually succeeding in killing us sometimes. That is the real provocation. That is really the main sticking point. It's very simple. If they stop attacking us, there's peace.
Thank you very much. My name again is Phil Weiss. Can I get your name?
My name is Michael Wolfowitz.
And are you from the accent sounds a little bit like maybe I might have heard it over in the States. Are you from the States?
A little north of there.
Okay. Thank you.